I have an answer to this myself after reading your book, but I want to ask you if you could pinpoint the biggest, let's say, most glaring issue that caused the shit to hit the fan in Charlottesville. What would you say it was?
Wow. I think it's the authorities. I think that is the main thing. I mean, the protesters and counter protest groups had met all over the country in different types of similar situations. What was different about Charlottesville, and this is an important thing a lot of people don't know, an independent report was done, was actually paid for by the city, and found that the authorities basically allowed it to happen, or even caused it to happen with some of their actions. That was the big problem, is that the authorities, in essence, that they basically stood down. They basically allowed it to happen, and at one point even pushed the hostile parties together. And that's what made Charlottesville different from all the other protests.
Yeah, and I I've gained this lesson from your book and subsequent events that happened after the Charlottesville incident happened, is that at least in lefty cities, I'm near Austin, Texas, not too far from it, 30 minutes or so. The cops don't seem to want to protect anyone on the right. They'll stand down and let BLM or Antifa riot because I don't know why, but like January 6th, the cops are not there to protect the right, in my opinion. And I think they were negligent on purpose, is what it seems like to me. I work in the fire department, and I'm pretty familiar on how local agencies prep for marches and big events. And something that a lot of people don't realize, they might say, well, it can't be some conspiracy. All the cops would have known. They don't all have to know. It's very compartmentalized, and there's just a few people that have to be in on something to make sure it filters downward without even mentioning a narrative or a political
Right.
opinion. They know what, there's people in charge of certain segments that know what to do and what to say to basically, what it looked like there is stand down, so to speak,
Mhm.
or like you mentioned, push the opposing groups into this small area. Can you talk about that part of it, as far as the two groups getting pushed into a small, or filtered through a small exit, as it were?
Oh yes, well, the park was in the middle of downtown, and the entrance was kind of messed up. There was people being there was a shuttle plan, but the shuttle was being people were being dropped off a few blocks away from the park and had to walk through a gauntlet. And some people did. There were some groups that got together and marched. Almost, in a column down the street, and so the entrance, there were a lot of injuries there. And then after the unlawful assembly was declared, we're in a park that's surrounded by counter protesters who are throwing things in. The riot police began to move in, and they pushed. Well, they threatened. They told everyone that if they didn't disperse, they would be arrested. People were trying to leave. It's into the hostile crowd. Then the riot police started pushing people into the street. They had to leave or be arrested. They started pushing people into the street, and that's when a lot of the chaos broke out.